Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the first video in the Cycle Card Body series. This is the 1913 Duesenberg we're building. Then the frame series, I've got a little more things to do on the frame, but we're skipping ahead to the body because I'm waiting on some parts. So I'll show you what I've got going on. I've already started the front body panels. I kind of just skipped ahead on that, and I'll show you how I did that right now. So in the last video I added these round hoops, and then I recently added these side pieces formed in a similar way. I made a template. Here's a template here out of foam, and then I just used that as a guide to bend the tubing. And then we decided we needed to go ahead and get some extra support on here because these were, as you put pressure on it, this was moving a little bit. The front one was moving independent of this one. This one's pretty secure because of these right here. When I do the side panels, I might add some additional framing down here. So what this is right now, on top of this frame is just a 2-inch wide piece of aluminum. It's been riveted onto the center, 3/4 in the front, about 3/4 or so in the back. This is going to provide the support for the hood piece, the side pieces, and the sorry, you can't see my hand. The piece is going to go up here on the cowl. The side pieces, again, I made a template. I'll show you what that looks like. And it's got this little notch right there, which you can see is right there on the side. And these panels are pretty straight. There's no bends in these at all, except for at the very front where we're going from a kind of an angle to flat. I bent this a little bit on the table, just put some pressure on it. And then back here, because this comes in at an angle, this little bit of support here, I took a crescent wrench and manipulated that to have a little bit of a bend so that this metal would lay flat against it. Then the next tricky part was the radiator area. So I made a template out of foam again, roughly a 9-inch circle at the top, about 24-inch tall piece of foam. Use that as a guide on the shrinker stretcher, which is this tool right here. Now, the flat pieces of aluminum here, these are not the 3003 grade. These are just the cheap, or I would say cheap, but they're the more rigid material. Not designed really for bending compound curves. So for the 3003 grade, 50 thousandths thick, you can shrink this. You can see all these little shrink marks and tucks. Now this is going to get marks in it. And that's okay for what we're doing on this because this is going to get a cover on the front of this, like a protection. It's going to get a welded piece of rod with some mesh in it. The original car had that as a, I guess, to keep the dirt and rocks out of it. And there's a little piece of 2-inch by 2-inch material down here at the bottom. This is a little bit loose still. I might put an attachment piece here just to keep this from rocking back and forth. We'll see how stiff this gets when the hood goes on. So they're temporarily attached with a couple rivets right now. And then down here, piece of flat material that I put a 90-degree bend on it. You can see the back of it right here, the 90-degree bend. That's to give some support for the hood sides so they don't move around. I might add a little bit of material right in this area right here. Once I rivet this in, this may not move around enough to worry about it, but if it does, I'll weld a little piece of metal on here to support that. That's where we are right now. So it's kind of the side view. You can see the wheels are all wonky because it's kind of up on, I've got it leveled right now so I can make sure the hood is level. So that's looking pretty good. So up next is the English wheel. Let me show you what we got going on over here. Sorry, the neighbor's working on a project across the street too. So I've got a rubber band, what they call a rubber band. It's just like a rubber piece that goes over your top wheel. And what this allows you to do is when you run your metal through it, it'll bend it only in 2 directions, this way and that way, and not 3 directions, front and back. It won't raise it up and curve it. It'll just put a curve in it, which is what we're doing. So I've got my handy tool here to tell me what the angles of the arch of the metal is. So this one is close to 12 inches. So a 12-inch mark on there, you kind of rock it back and forth. That's almost 12. And the front one is almost 6. So we got 2 different arches. So we're going to start with the big one and work our way up. So the way we do that, we take the same tool to your English wheel dies. And that's the one I got that's closest to 12. It's actually an 8-inch. And then we'll go up to a 6 or a 4-inch to get the front. So we'll wheel the whole thing with this to get the main curve, and then we'll wheel the front a little bit more with a different die, or with a different lower wheel to get the curve on the front. So, time to cut aluminum. Okay, so I cut my first piece of metal. So this thing is 12 inches on one end, 14 on the other, 25 inches long. So it's not a straight square piece because it's going from a larger circle to a smaller circle. So the only way I found to wheel these things and keep them straight is to put indexing lines so you know where you're rolling to keep your lines straight. I'm going with the grain of the metal, if that matters or not, but I'm doing it anyway. So I marked 1 inch every 7 inches across the top here. And then I marked what this would be 10 inches, which is what the top is, to where the arch ends on the hood area. So there's a flat area down here and a flat area down here. So I went every 1.5 inches roughly over here. So these kind of splay a little bit from 7 inches to 10 inches as it gets down to this end. So that'll hopefully help me keep my arc right. First time I've done something like this, so we'll see how it goes. But this is a square edge, goes down the center of the hood. So that should keep it, hopefully keep it straight. So I got the rubber band on the wheel and I'm wheeling it slowly, just kind of putting a little bit of pressure. I've already gone over it, see a little bit of arc in it already, see? You can see how much arc is in there already. We got a lot more to go. So just kind of going slowly with it. You can go all the way past the edges. The reason you go past the edges is you're not trying to create a crown. If you were crowning this, you wouldn't go past the edges. You want to keep your lines as straight as you can and keep your tracks uniform. You don't want to go over one piece too much or too long because you end up with more arch in one spot than another. So I'm going to continue wheeling this and check in with you in just a minute. Okay, so success. That worked pretty good. First try, I had to do a little bit more down on the sides. I went ahead and switched to the number 4 anvil, and that fits really nice. It's oversized, so it'll need to be trimmed down. So this is, once this trims off, you see there's an extra couple inches down there. That looks pretty good, and it's even kind of shiny, which kind of impresses me. I see these guys on the internet, it's nice and shiny. This, I think it's probably because of that rubber thing on there. Anyway, we'll trim that down later, but I'm going to make the other side now. Okay, like always, the second panel always goes better than the first. So you see the little lifted up right there, that's just because the angle of this, and they need to be trimmed down, but the shape is dead on, man. Mark them the way I did, where it's narrower, 1 inch marks here, 1.5 inch marks back here. That really, it just kind of naturally made a tighter front and a wider back. And that looks awesome. They're clamped there just to hold it in place. They're oversized. They're gonna be trimmed. There'd be a piano hinge in the center. Man, that turned out great. I'm really happy with that. So yeah, massive progress. This is just 1 day's work. I started this morning around 8. It's about, I don't know, close to 4 right now. Yeah, off and on kind of throughout the day. So yeah, pretty neat. So we'll trim this up tomorrow and look at getting it mounted. Okay, so I trimmed down both panels and got it fitted. There's a screw every 2 inches. Those will be rivets eventually. And in the back side, I put a strip of aluminum here to strengthen that joint. So you could, you know, so it still looks like a hood panel and a side panel, and then it's nice and rigid. That actually stiffened up the nose quite a bit when you shake the nose. Maybe I can see if you can see it here. I'm pushing on it. It moves a little bit, but nothing like it did before. So this passenger side panel fit perfect. This is where the exhaust pipes are going to be mounted. I might put something in there to strengthen that. I got the cut down piano hinge. This is started off as I think a 4-foot piece, cut it down to 21 inches roughly. And I got the driver's side mounted and fitted and finagled, and it takes a bit of trimming and cutting and trimming again and cutting more and grinding and sanding and filing. But this fits pretty good. See that gap is just almost touching it. There's a little bit of marker stuff in here. A little bit, I'll clean it up later. But once I attach this, we're gonna put a little bit of material in there so it doesn't rattle. But for now, that looks pretty good. So get far enough back, you can see the hinge, how that opens up easy enough. And again, I put a piece of material here to strengthen this joint across here, because otherwise this is flopping around quite a bit. And on the inside of this one, because it's only getting riveted on one side, I bent a little 1/2 inch roughly of the metal up. I just put it on the workbench and just hammered it down. It's a little bit rough looking, but it'll work. It's just make it rigid. So if it was a flat piece, it might be a little too flexible. And so there's where the holes are. I don't have a screw in every hole, but every 2 inches it's got a a rivet. The original had it's designed to have a bolt or nut and bolt every 2 inches, but these are bigger than what the rivets would be. So this fits pretty good. When you drop it down, there it goes. Pretty easy. Fits pretty good. Call that good. Next step is to put a Zeus fastener right in the middle. It's going to get belts on the sides, one over here, one over here. And then I think right in the center, I'm going to put a Zeus fastener. I'll show you what that is right now. So I got this on my other cycle cart. This is a tool made by Moroso. It's a part number. I get it from Speedway. What this does is got a little dimple die in it, 2 different sizes. And basically you drill a hole in your panel, put your aluminum panel in between, put that through the hole and then hammer it. And that puts that impression in there. And what that does is allows this little dude to fit down inside. So that's designed to fit in that hole. Then on the back side, there's this little bag of springs. Here's the springs I'm using. And I think this was this is the quarter turn fasteners from Speedway. There's the part numbers. Point 50,000, I guess it's 50,000 script or 0.500 inches. Anyway, they come 10 to a pack. There's another part you can get, which is, excuse me, it's this right here. This is a weldment. So if you're going to be welding this or putting this on a frame, I might use this for the tail section. You just weld that to your frame, and then dimple your aluminum piece, and then mount this on the aluminum piece for your tail section. So that's how that works. I've got a few more of these, I suppose, of these deals that are left over from my lab. I only ended up using 2 of them, I think. And so I got quite a few of these little deals left. But we're not going to use this. We're just going to use this. I'm going to dimple both panels, and I'm going to mount this spring in the second panel. So I guess we'll go ahead and do that now. Cool. So I drilled a pilot hole, and I drilled the 13/32, whatever that is, drill bit through both panels. This way, when I put them back on, they'll be lined up. Drilled it through both sides. So anyway, take these off and dimple them. Okay, so I got the bottom die. I'm going to use a bigger one on the bottom here. There's 2 different sizes for some reason. Just put that on the vise or some other solid surface on the ground if you wanted to. Normally I do the ground, but because I'm videotaping this, I'm going to put it up here. So I'm going to dimple this side here, put the tool through the hole, line it up, give it a few whacks. That's all it takes. There's the dimple there. Hope you can see that. Okay, so I got both panels back on the car. So when you drill your holes, there's little mounting holes here on the outside of this fastener. Drill those through both panels. And then on the back panel, you're going to want to make the hole bigger. So when you rivet your front panel piece on, the rivet won't attach here. It'll be a clearance hole. Because when you put the back of the rivet, of course, the rivets are going to stick out. And you're going to want to use a short rivet as best you can to accommodate that. So I'm going to use a 1/4 inch drill bit to drill these holes out. And when I put the spring in, the spring's going to be turned sideways slightly. So we'll do that next. Okay, then you go ahead and install that spring with some rivets. Try to use a small head rivet if you can. These are 1/8 inch short rivets with the smaller head, not the bigger 3/16 head. Here's what it looks like from behind. There's your spring. Now I've long suspected that, I'll show you what this looks like when it comes down, that this 1/4 turn fastener spring I got, oops, sorry, here, comes in like that, and then this, there it goes, comes in and engages. I've long suspected that this spring is probably the wrong size. It's very, very hard to turn. I've actually adjusted it a little bit by crushing it in the vise. On my other cart, it's got the same problem. This is supposed to be able to turn with your hand, but I'm pretty much having to take a pair of pliers, grab it, and then give it a little twist. And you hear it snap into place. That's fully engaged, and then that's unengaged. So not too big a deal. This is going to be a once in a while kind of thing. The hood's not going to be up that often, but that really secured it. That hood is not going anywhere. Nice and snug. Yeah, that turned out pretty cool. So the hood and hood side and the grill are pretty much done. The grill, of course, we'll put an insert in here, and then I have to build a cover for it, like a mud guard. But man, that turned out pretty good. I think it fit pretty well. happy with the result. Next part will be to build the cowl, which will go here. That'll be another video, but for video 1 of the cycle cart body 1913 Duesenberg, we'll call that a job well done. I think it turned out pretty well. Very pleased with it. So this is coming along. So we got about a little over 2 months to get this completely ready to go to a race in Utah. So we're trying to get as much done as we can with the time we have. So I think we're going to make it without too much trouble. But again, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking, asking questions. A bunch of you guys have emailed me. I appreciate all the questions and the comments. If you had anything else for cycle carts or anything going on, let me know. Again, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.